Greetings, welcome back. We are continuing our discussion of custom user forms, and in this exercise we have a list of students in a class. It's a fake class and fake students, but we have a set of students and they have exam scores, homework scores. There's a score for a term paper, a project, a lab, and a quiz. And then there's an actual letter grade that is based on the total score they have. And we have this second sheet, and the way this works is we want to pop up a custom user form that presents the user with a list of the students on this column B on the first sheet, and then the user would then select one of those students and click on the OK button, and then we would fill in the name in this cell, the selected name, and then we would copy in the associated scores from the other sheet so that we could have an individual progress report, which presumably we could print or email or cut and paste and send it to someone in an email message where they could see a nicely formatted summary of their performance in the class without having to share the entire set of information for the class. So that's kind of our use case. And so to get this going, we need to make a button over here that launches our form. So let's do that by creating an ActiveX button, and I'm just going to put it right here for now. And we will edit the properties. This will be CMD select student, and then the caption will be select student. Now technically, when you're going to use a button to launch a user form, you're supposed to put a ... at the end of the caption. Now I neglected to do that in our last exercise with the search and replace string, and it's not essential. This is more of a style thing, but that is generally the case in terms of user interfaces. When a button or a menu command or something like that launches a user form, you almost always see that ... there at the end of the caption. So we'll put that in. And then that is going to launch a user form. We need to first create the user form. So let's pop over to Excel, or excuse me, to the Visual Basic Editor. And we're going to right click on an empty space in our Project Explorer window and select Insert User Form. Okay. And once again, that creates our empty user form, and we want to open the properties window here, and we're going to call this FRM select to select student, and then we'll change the caption to select student. And as we learned last time, you want to give each of your user forms a descriptive name, and then we'll put a caption in, and that caption appears in the title bar here. And the next thing we want to do is put in a list box. So that would be this control right here. And I'm just going to drag a rectangle right here on this side of the custom user form. And we're going to change the name of that control to LST students. And that's all we're going to do for now. Now I'm going to go back to the form, and I'm going to create right up here an OK button. Change the name of this to CMD OK. And whoops, we need to change the caption to OK. And then I'm going to Control C, Control V, and we'll have an identically sized button which we'll call CMD cancel, and we'll change the caption to cancel. So now we have an OK and a cancel button. And again, we can at any point test our control. The buttons don't do anything yet, but we could double click on that and say FRM select dot hide, and then I'll copy that to the clipboard, Control C, double click on the OK button and have it hide just for a second. Alright, so now these buttons should close it. Now another thing we need to do is go back here, and as we did last time, we're going to go into design mode and double click on this button, and we will use this button to launch our custom user form. Okay, and now we'll save our changes, and now that launches our custom user form. So the next thing we need to do is we need to populate this list box with the contents of cell B6 to B24. And the way we do that is go back to the form, and there is a row source property associated with the list control where you give it the address of the items you want to fill that in. And let's go back here. So the name of this sheet is class, and the cells are from B6 to B24. So if we go down to this row source field and say class exclamation B6 colon B24, enter, you'll see that it immediately fills that list box with the contents of those cells. And now if we run that, whoops, let me see, run, we can then pick any one of these items. Now you'll notice that the list is just big enough to include the last item. I'm going to go back and show you something here. If I make that a little smaller, it will automatically put in a scroll bar. Okay, so now when I launch that, we get a scroll bar if we need it before we can pick something. And so yeah, now you just select one of these here using a list box, and away we go. Let me show you something else kind of fun about list box controls is they have a style. Where is the style down here? Special effect, list style, FRM list plain. You can change it to an option style, and now when you run that, instead of just picking one and having it highlighted, you get the little option controls, which is kind of fun. And there's also another thing you can do. You can do there's a multi-select option. Let me see if I can find it. Oops, I got to select the control. Here it is. Multi-select. Okay. By default it's single. You can change it to multi. And then when you launch that form, you can actually select more than one option. So, but what we want to do is a single option. So I'm just showing you that feature there. I'm going to change that back to single, and then I'm going to change the style back to the let's see, here it is, back to the plain style. So here we go. So we're kind of back where we started, and what we need to do now is determine which item was picked, because we need to know what row to look for. And there are a couple ways we can do this. So let's go into our, I'm going to double click on the OK button, and we're going to go back here. Now we're going to just go ahead and hide that and then start making our selections. So I want to show you something. I'm going to do message box LST select, I think is what, or no, LST students, is that what we called that? Let's see, LST students, that's the name of the control. Dot value, And then let's go back to Excel and run this. So if I pick Doogie Smith, for example, and click OK, I get a message box saying Doogie Smith. So what that tells us is the value of the list control is basically the text associated with the item that's selected. Now in the context of what we're doing, we could then take that selected text string and then write a loop that starts at row 6 in column 2 on this sheet, and it goes down until it finds the name. Because what we need to do is we need to pull the scores, the exam scores, homework, etc., from the row corresponding to the selected item. And so again, we could do that by finding the text string. Now another way to do that is just put the selected name right here, and then we could use a VLOOKUP that fills in these controls for us. But yeah, we're going to do it using Visual Basic Code. And by the way, one thing we can do right off the bat is we can say the student sheet, and that's cell B3. So we could say sheets student dot range B3 equals LST students dot value. Okay, so that would at least put the student's name there for us. So let's go test that, and I'm going to delete these so that we can test our code. So I'm going to, we still got the message box coming up. That's okay, but as you can see, it's properly echoing the selected name right there. But again, back to what I was discussing, if we knew the row number directly of the selected student, then we could just use the cells command to pull these values from this sheet. And turns out there's a way to do that. If we go into the code, there is there's a property called list index. Now it's not listed in the properties window because I'm not sure why, but what this does is it lists the index of the selected item. And let me show you what that means. So if we go back here, and if I were to select an item here, I'm going to select Mark Handy, okay? And it says index equals 2. Now, you may think, well, wait a minute, that's the third item in the list. And that's because if I select the first item, watch what happens. 0. So this is a 0-based indexed, but it does tell us what one was selected. So if we go back here, if you think about it, if we were to take the list index plus 6, that would give us the row number of the selected item. So let's test that out. So let's say list index plus 6, just to try it. And then we'll go back here and test it out. So if I select Joe Blow, it says 6, which is the correct row number. And if I select Fred Flintstone, it should say 7. So voila, we now have a super easy way to determine what row we should be on. So I'm gonna do something else here. I'm gonna say dim my row as integer, and then down here I'm gonna say my row equals list index. And so now what we're going to do is we are going to copy, let me expand my window a little bit. We are going to write a series of assignment statements to start copying values over. Now if we go back to Excel, we'll see, by the way, these cells on this sheet have been named. This is exam 1, exam 2, final, homework, and so forth. And so let me do something here. I'm going to see if we can get two windows visible at once here. I'm going to go right, I'm going to drag that right over there just for a second. And then we're going to type, let's see, I'm just going to hide that for a second so we have plenty of room. So we are going to say sheets and student dot range, and then I'm going to just use the cell name exam1 equals sheets class dot cells comma my row comma, I don't remember what that, wait a minute, it's not class, oh yeah, exam1, yeah, let's take a guess. Let's see, that is actually on D. Wow, good guess, D. And let me go, I'm just going to copy that and say exam2 is on row 5, and final is on row 6, and homework is on row 7. I'm just copying from the clipboard every time. Paper is on column 8, and project is on column 9. Lab is on column 10. Well, just a few more to go. Quiz is on column 11, and total is on column 12, and finally grade is on column 13. Okay, let's reset our windows here, and then we'll pull this back, and let's give it a shot. Save the changes, select student, Mary Hill, boom, C plus 72%, Mary Hill 72%, C plus. So I think we are fully working now. Pick a student, custom progress report. Look at that. So again, just to recap, we created a custom user form. We linked it to this button by using the .show method. You hide the control, we hide the user form using the .hide method when you click on the OK or cancel button. We use the selected, or the index of the selected item to determine what row the items are on in the first sheet by adding 6 to the list index. And then using that, we used a series of assignment statements to copy the values from the selected row on the first sheet into this column of numbers, just formatted differently on the second sheet. And yeah, once again, custom user forms are very easy to make and use, and I think you'll find them quite useful in your Excel projects.